Hey everybody, today I'm going to walk you through what I do from beginning to end as far as organizing my photos, rating them, culling them, and getting them ready for editing.
I'm the baddest cat in all this world. You hear me?
I hear you, sir. I'm with you.
Alright, so today I'm going to use a shoot that I did with the amazing artist Gregory Alan Iskov. So the first thing I need to do when I'm in Lightroom is I need to put the files on a hard drive or some specific safe place, and I've already done that. I've put them on this hard drive right here, and here's my folder of images. They're all RAWs, and so quickly what I do is I make sure there are one-to-one previews, and I also build smart previews with all of my images. So the reason why I do that is because I want my previews to be quick, fast, etc. I don't want to be spending a lot of time on loading images in the middle of culling or in the middle of editing, for that matter. I'm going to go ahead and actually put minimal for this video's purpose, just because it takes time for Lightroom to actually build these previews. They're actually creating photographs. They're smaller versions of the raw files, so they load quickly. So in actuality, you're probably rarely ever looking at the real actual raw file ever, honestly. They're stored on your hard drive or on your computer or somewhere else. And so what Lightroom does is it understands that those big, chunky, juicy raw files take time to load, and so these previews over here help with that. But for this video's sake, I'm actually going to click minimal, but what I usually do is click one-to-one. The reason why I'm clicking minimal is because I don't want it to sit here and take time to make those one-to-one previews. So we're going to build smart previews as well. What I usually do is I always add keywords, and so I'm going to add Gregory on Cobb. I think that's how you spell his name. It could be totally wrong. Let me see. Nope. Cobb. There we go. And I'll add musician, and I'll add the city that I did it in. Okay. Sometimes I'll add my developed settings. Sometimes I won't. I'll just let them be right now. I like to re-edit my photos often and go back and see where I started from. So that's why I like to keep mine from none from the beginning. It's just one of my personal preferences. Okay. The reason why I add keywords is I'm going to show you in a minute how you can actually search for a whole load of images just through these keywords over here on the right. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and press import. One other thing that you're probably wondering where it is where is the location tab, which you're probably used to. The reason why it's not there is because I had add. Now, some people like to actually move. Where's a card? Well, there's a card. Some people like to actually move your files from your card to your hard drives through Lightroom. Sometimes that takes a long time and Lightroom freaks out, and so I've been getting in the habit of actually moving these files to the hard drive before I actually open up Lightroom, the thing in front of me. It's, again, a total personal preference, but that's why. So you can see up here, add. It's just going to add these images to the catalog, the Lightroom catalog. This tab would move them, and you can actually see that destination folder pop up. This one would actually copy the images or raw files over to this, so then it would never delete them or move them unless you tell it to. It would just create more copies. This other option actually copies them over as DNGs onto this one. Okay, but for this, say I'm just going to add them to the catalog right where they are in that folder. So when I press import, you're going to see all those things pop in. Move this. And so I have about 100 images, and it's going to automatically start building smart previews. Those smart previews, again, Those help me able to use my Lightroom mobile. They help me work on my iPad, and now they actually will load faster here too. Okay, which is going to be really important for the next thing. While Lightroom is building these smart previews, I'm going to show you this library filter tab, which is really the subject of my workflow and me saving clicking time and saving work and focusing in on the good photographs rather than paying attention and focusing in on the bad photographs. My workflow is based around the good photos that I'm actually going to use, blog, send to my clients. I do not pay attention and focus on the bad ones. I don't rate them, I don't flag them, I don't edit them. I intentionally ignore them. And a lot of the mentees that I've worked with actually like to rate them for some reason. And I ask the question, why? And I always get a blank stare back like, I don't know. I just feel like I need to. And then I'm sitting here thinking like, man, you're pushing that either 0 or that 1 button during culling, or you're flagging, or you're doing some other organizational thing for those bad photos when you don't have to at all. You're actually wasting time because Lightroom has already given you this library filter up here to filter your library for this exact purpose. Okay, and so I'll start off with the text. Okay, so when I click on text in my library, I can go over here and actually type in any of the words that I just applied to these images, and all those images will pop up. Now, right now, because I only have Gregory Alan Oskov's folder here, you don't see a change. But let me, while it's building those smart previews, let me import just a few other random images and show you what I'm talking about and how it can filter things. So I'm just going to go find some images from another musician shoot that I did. So I did some double exposure work with Benson here. So it looks like I tried to shoot a double exposure of him and didn't make one. But I'll import these 4 images. I'll type in Benson. I think it's 2 L's. And then I'll also add that same thing I added on Gregory Alan Oskov's, which is musician. And then I'll also add Durham, which is where it was. I'm going to keep, ideally I would have build previous 1-to-1 and smart previews. Okay, I'll let 1-to-1 stay just because there's only 4 images. All right, and again, I'm going to add them where they are. That's fine right here. That's something that you'll figure out over time where your images should be. Okay, so now if you look over in my folders, now I have 2 folders. I have a folder for Benson and I have a folder for Gregory Alan Oskov. All right, now what I can do to quickly not have to go over here and click on these catalogs or folders or whatever, I can actually just click all my photographs and I can click text and I can type in, I'll just type in Gregory's first name, and you can see automatically that Lightroom filters all the images that have the keyword Gregory on it. Okay, and you can change how Lightroom filters this stuff. You can even change starts with, ends with, doesn't contain certain words. Okay, it has very specific words, or in the default feature is contains all words. Okay, so but if I type in Ben, watch what happens. Those 4 images of Ben automatically pop up. Okay, that's one way that I make sure that I give myself the ability to quickly access my photos or the previews of the photos without having to go over there and click a bunch. Okay, now you're like, oh, that's great, Mark, but what about the good images, right? You said you were ignoring the bad. Well, that's the next tab, which is attribute. Now I have not applied any attributes yet, so I need to actually go into Gregory Alan Oskov's images and apply some attributes. What I do, there's 2 attributes that I apply. The first attribute I go through and I kind of intuitively from my gut respond to whether I think a photo has potential or no potential. Okay? If it has potential, then I'm tapping the 5 key. to set the rating to 5. Okay, that is not a 5 photo, so I'm going to go ahead and press 0. What many people like to do is tap 0 on photos that don't have potential. And that blows my mind because all the energy it takes to do that, especially if you're a wedding photographer where you're someone who's culling through thousands and thousands and thousands a week, right? It doesn't make sense to add an extra tap. If you think about all those taps added up over time, that's a ton of energy. That's a ton of action for photos that are crap, right? And we don't want that. We want to focus on the good stuff, okay? So I'm just going to go through, and if a photo has any potential at all, I'm just going to tap 5, okay? So kind of like that one, kind of like that one, kind of like that one. It's interesting. It's one that looks like I edited previously in the shoot. Love that one, obviously. So I don't really like that. I'm not going to tap anything for that, you know? It's cool. We probably like that. It's interesting. And you notice that it's loading so slowly. That's because I did not build one-to-one previews, by the way. So many of you are editing and you're fresher with that little load tab at the bottom. That's because you're not building one-to-one previews. You need to start building one-to-one previews, okay? That's going to save you so much time, all right? And again, I do that on every one of my shoots. But it takes time to build them before you start calling and editing, okay? So it's just something to think about. As soon as I get home from a shoot, I go ahead and import photos in, and I tell Lightroom to go ahead and create those one-to-one previews. That way I'm not really wasting time. I can, you know, if I'm doing a wedding, I can even allow Lightroom to create those one-to-one previews overnight while I'm sleeping, right? And be able to wake up the next day and start culling and start that process, okay? Because again, this little load thing is just annoying. You know, you don't want that. And that's because one-to-one previews, okay? So it's kind of funny. And again, I'm simply responding to intuition right now. What could be a good photo? What might he like? What might I like to play around with? I'm kind of regretting not building the one-to-one preview now. There's that. Love these. Love his boots. Obviously, I edited that photo previously. Love these of him smoking a cigarette. And sometimes when I have similar photos, I'm just going through and I'll go back and forth, right? So I'm looking at where the focus area was there. That one's better, that one's better, you know, who knows. There's some that I definitely won't touch or rate or do any of that stuff on. I don't want to waste time. Like, I'm not using that photo, right? And that's cool, but everybody looks silly. I was using my tilt shift. I mean, it's just not that important. That was him just having conversations with people. That was kind of cool. This kid, funny story, this kid actually drove from Birmingham, Alabama to Durham, North Carolina just to see him. It was crazy. And then he was able to see him at the end of my shoot. So, okay, so I went through and I culled all those images. All I did is I was tapping 5. I was giving those images the rating of 5 stars, the ones that I feel like potentially could be good photographs. Okay, now, how do I quickly look at just those 5 stars? I go to my next library filter tab, which is attribute. I click it, and I can actually filter all the 5-star images by clicking 5 stars. And now every image that I just 5-starred is in front of me. I didn't do anything with the catalog over here. I didn't do any other organizational. I didn't action. I didn't move anything. I didn't even flag anything yet. These are all the ones that have potential in my workflow, in my process. At any moment that I want to see all of them again, I would just undo that filter, okay, or just push attribute and it goes away, okay. If I wanted to see all the 5 stars, let's see, if I wanted to go to all photographs and I wanted photos that are tagged with the word Gregory, that have 5 stars, I can do those things. And Lightroom actually tells you up at the top there, text and attribute filters are being applied here. So I'm in my all photographs in catalog, and I've filtered them now through all the potential photographs, those are the 5 stars, with the keywords Gregory. Okay, and you can see all those images that I just called are right there. And again, I'm looking at all my photographs. I can quickly get back there just by clicking this again, and I see Benson Lee's photos popping in there. Okay, in the same sense, I can click text, type in Ben, and just his photos will pop up. Okay, if I was culling and I wanted the 5 stars with Ben, there it is. Okay, so much time. I filtered out all of the crappy images that I would never use, but I did not delete them. That's another thing that my mentees like to do, is delete photos, and I don't understand that. Stop deleting photos, y'all. Keep your photos. You know, it's good to have them. You never know when your client might want them. Okay, even if they're crappy from your eyes, because you're an artist and you're particular and you have skills, right? But keep all your stuff. Just add filters and be able to organize your stuff. Okay. Metadata is the next one. I don't use this one as much, but when I have a big catalog, I actually have years over here. I have the different cameras that I might have used, the different lenses. Those are really cool to have as well, to be able to filter. So my final step in culling, what I do is I'm going to go ahead and pull up the images of Gregory, the potentially good ones. Type in Gregory, but I only want those potentially good ones. So I'm going to click attribute and 5 stars. So there they are. My next one is I use flags. Okay, so flags are what I use to actually pick images for blog post or posting to Instagram and Facebook, etc. You know, the ones I want everybody to see, portfolio images. Okay, most of the time this happens after I do my first round of editing, but for this quick tutorial, I just wanted to show you how I do that. So I've got two filters on right now that Lightroom's applied: text and attribute, 5 star, and the word Gregory. So I'm going to add another attribute to be able to filter these images even and funnel them down even closer. Again, I'm focusing on the good stuff. That's what the whole goal of this is. So the shortcut, keyboard shortcut, is P for the white flag. So these are ones that I know are going to be really, really good, and I'm a little bit more particular with these, right? So I'm paying a little bit closer attention to them. I like that one better. I like that one. I like that one better. That one's interesting. Really like that one. Yeah. I really don't like either three of those. I like what that one. I think that's an interesting image, but I don't like the fact that his toes cut off. I'm gonna find my favorite out of all of these. Really like that one because it has all the smoke, and that one too. I can see the red of the cigarettes. I'm gonna pick both those. I like this one because I can see his eye closed back there. So which one's sharper? It's that one, P. That's him. And I think, you know, that's one that those are ones that I've edited previously. So now I just created another attribute for my really good images that I want to edit. All I have to do to see all those is click the white flag in the attribute filter. Bam. There's all the ones that I just called in my next step. I never ever paid attention to the ones that I'm not going to use. Okay. This is what I do for every single one of my shoots, whether it's a short musician shoot like this, or it's a massive 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 photograph wedding, or multiple day event. I'm doing this exact same process, and I focus in and use a funnel model rather than a pay attention to shit, pay attention to medium shit, pay attention to good shit, right? I don't do that. I want to focus in on the good shit consistently, but at the same time, I don't want to get rid of the bad shit. You know what I mean? I like to have the bad stuff to be able to look back on and learn from, to be able to teach with, etc., things like that. So those are ways that I speed up my workflow. Again, I feel free to ask me any questions. Leave a comment, and I'll respond if you're curious about anything that I just showed. There's lots of other little tips and tricks in Lightroom that can speed up your workflow, can make you a happier photographer, can save you tons and tons of time. And I'm consistently blown away at the amount of time that's wasted by clicking or tapping a key or doing things like that. Here's a little bonus piece of material. So when I'm editing, let's say I'm editing all those flag photographs, I'll just apply one of my giveaway presets. Does not look good on this photograph. We're not white balanced at all. That's okay. Bring down a little bit of saturation real quick. Maybe I actually might want, maybe I'll use Twyla Jones. If y'all don't know Twyla Jones, go find her. She's amazing. Maybe I'll use her black and white stuff on these images. Lovely. Just some great black and white presets. So if I like this preset, and maybe I went through and I made some really custom decisions, I changed some things if I had a preset to start with, and I don't want to have to do that on every image. You know, that's a massive time waster. So what I can actually do is press Shift Command C. If you're on a PC, it's Control. And most of the time what I'm doing is I'm white balancing and exposing beforehand, but in this case I'm in basically the same position or the same location or the same atmosphere with similar lighting. So I'll just check everything except local adjustments and crop and spot removal. Press Copy. I'll go ahead and press G to go back to my library. I'm going to do Command A to select all, and then I'll go Shift Command S to sync. And then all those same settings that I just checked are back here, and I can synchronize, and you actually see all these images have that exact same edit applied to them. And now what I do is I go back and make custom changes individually. And so I just saved myself a ton of time, and now I can go in and adjust exposure. I can adjust all the other things. I'm using keyboard shortcuts constantly. And I can do this individually to each photograph, but still kind of apply that basic foundational preset. Okay? I hope that was helpful. I challenge you to figure out the workflow and the customization of Lightroom and whatever other application you use to help you speed up, save time, and enjoy editing more. That's really the goal here. We're trying to live life more, enjoy it more, and be able to do that in a more be able to edit photos and create art in a more efficient and productive and high quality way. And so saving time, saving yourself energy is so important. So I hope these tips were helpful. Leave me your workflow in the comments below. I'd love to hear and learn from you. And thank you so much for watching. I will talk to you soon.
I'm the baddest cat in all this world. You hear me?
I hear you, sir. I'm with you.